Hey, family. Welcome to the second episode of Critical Sense Making Sessions with facilitated by me, yours truly, Revolutionary Rika. Today's topic is local politics versus national politics. And our guest today is my boy Griffinstein. He'll share in just a minute, but he's very passionate about music, about media, and melding community. And so today we want to hear from him. He'll share a little bit about who he is, and then we'll get right into our session.
Yeah, well, Don Griffin. Rap name is Griffinstein, the Unforgiven. So I was born in Richmond, raised in Richmond, lived on the central and lived in north and lived in the south side. It's I grew up though in the south side in Easter Hill. That's where I learned things. That's where I learned, and it what shaped me as a person. I had my father, but it was these streets, and that's when crack was an epidemic at that point, and it was a lot that we seen that made us, we could have went different ways. We all could have went different ways, and we did. Some of us went both ways, and we still here to talk about it. But it's yeah, that's basically it. I run a couple podcasts and we met at camp. We met at Camp Mendocino. That's where I got out of some of that other stuff. So, yep, that's a little bit about me.
Sorry, just hold on one second. Well, thank you for being on the show. And I just want to shout you out because you were the reason why I finally decided to do a critical sense making sessions. Being on your show back in June helped me to actually it liberated me and gave me space to share my experiences. So I appreciate you for that. I wanted you to take a look at this. Friday night, my sister took me to a late birthday dinner, and we went to Smelly's. Of course, you can't eat, so we had to wait outside for an hour for our food. And as we were sitting at 25th and Broadway, we just were kind of observing the people who were walking past, what was going on. And the picture on your left, if you tolerate racism, delete Uber, was the sign sitting on top of the building where Chef Smelly's is located. So when we looked at that and then looked at that bottom part, that Black people have the right to move without fear, I was trying to figure out what century we was in. The only thing that was the indicator was the Uber.
Yeah.
Uber wasn't back at 60 years ago. But then when I looked at the sign, that looked like something fresh out of Jim Crow. It probably would have said colored, but it said Black. So I just wanted to see what your thoughts was on this. And like, even though I know what's going on the world stage and in our nation, but to have to put a billboard up that says Black people have the right to move without fear, something's wrong.
Yeah, something is wrong. I mean, the Broadway, I see somebody, scratched out the A and the D, but I'm not a unique person, but I'm in a small majority of people, and a lot of stuff is I like the sentiment of that. I think I do, because Uber is somebody big with a name, and they just this, that, and the third. But you don't gain anything from this. That sign would say, it says you tolerate racism, delete Uber. I mean, racists still have to get back and forth to where it's not a thing. It's not a checkbox on your app that says racist. And most racists don't care if Black people drive them. In fact, that they want that. They want to feel superior. But no, I like it. I like the idea of it. But the fact that it has to be said, like you said, is ain't nothing changed. Ain't nothing changed. I mean, from the long time ago. And what's weird though, is that the stuff that we talking about. I saw a clip the other day of a dude talking about it in the 60s. If I said word for word what he said, you would have said, this dude, they would have said I was amazing. But this dude is saying the exact same thing that we've been saying. So whatever we're doing isn't working. Or whatever we're doing, there has to be another way. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And that's why, when you asked about the question, that's why I said it's politics, because everything is steeped in racism. If you don't, if nobody sees that, 3/5, yeah, it gets deep. It gets deep, and that's why I know, yeah. But yeah, I like it. I like it because it's calling attention, but I don't like it because it shouldn't be a need for that.
Exactly.
But,
Absolutely. And I like that you brought up 3/5 because when you said it's all steeped in racism. Politics runs the United States, right? It's
yeah.
racism, all the institutions. So definitely. As we move to the first question, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about life growing up in Richmond, and then how did politics impact your childhood and young adult life?
Well, growing up, when I was thinking about, I like the question because you made me think about what I did. I truthfully, growing up in Richmond, it was all political, but my mind wasn't political. Mm-hmm. And that, I think that's what the bad thing is. You think that, oh yeah, I'm selling this or I'm doing this, but it's all got to do with politics. When you get that 3-strike rule, or if you say, oh, I had a pound of cocaine on me, but I had a pound of cocaine on me, or a white dude, I should say, had a pound of cocaine on him, not rocked up, but then you had 2 rocks on you and you got 10 years for each rock. Mm-hmm. Come on, man. So it's politics because they say, what are black people doing? Let's punish them. So if for some reason something started happening, they punish it. So what I remember is my mama voted. I know that because I remember her saying, hey, Donnie Griffin, my daddy, Donnie, we gonna go vote? And he was like, hey, come on, man. No. And so she voted, and I never voted in a national election at all, but local I vote. But growing up, nope. I remember it was one dude named Richard Griffin. He ran for council member, and the only reason I remember because I took all his posters and I put him on my wall because my last name was Griffin. So I was putting Griffin up there, and I think we went to a was it Mondale? That was 84. I think it was Mondale Ferraro. Wow. We went to that rally in Sacramento as kids with school though. They was trying to get us into it, and all I got was a bumper sticker, and I stuck it on something, and my daddy snatched it off. He was like, "No, we don't play that." But he didn't explain. I wish he would have explained. You know, he died 20 years ago, so I never did get his thoughts on it. But growing up in Richmond, we never really. The only time people came to when they wanted something from us. So you would get what's his name? The lawyer. I can't remember, Roberts. He would come and they would knock on doors, and that's the only time you would see him is when they wanted to be a council member or something. But yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't really drawn out in the thing of politics because I don't think it really pertained to us that way in our minds. I'm saying because it did, because Reagan put a whooply on us, boy.
Economics, huh?
Oh man. So yeah, I know it did influence me, but in my mind it didn't influence. I feel like it didn't have any point.
So I heard you say you participate in local politics. I'm interested in hearing what you feel like the strengths of local politics are and the weaknesses.
I feel like council meetings and even mayoral races and all of these measures. I think it's 1-to-1. So it's if you vote, the majority wins, and I think that's a truer. When somebody nationally say, "Oh, you need to get out and vote," I'm like, well. Yeah, okay, but the electoral college, they'll whop you. And I didn't even know. I thought in my mind, I'm sorry, I do have to apologize because it's ignorance. I just looked it up. The electoral college been there since everything. So I thought when LBJ came in, they did the electoral college because they gave us the right to vote or some kind of thing, but it wasn't that. It's steeped in racism. So the electoral college was because the smaller states thought they wouldn't get a fair shake. That's why they let us be 3/5 of a human, because anybody that owned a lot of slaves had more voices. So this one slave master was voting 4, 5, 6, 7 times, depending. So it was a race in the South to get slaves. And then the Republicans, Lincoln said, y'all not finna have this advantage. Slavery is dead. Let these people vote for us. And if anybody think anything different, you fooling yourself. It was about slavery. It wasn't about, it was about money. It was about power, and it was about politics. It had nothing to do with these people are oppressed. If we didn't have a vote, if they didn't have the 3/5 law in there, or whatever, I don't know if it's the Constitution. Was it the Constitution? The Constitution. And that's even
compromise. 3/5 compromise.
Yeah. If that wasn't in there, I don't know if we would even never not be slaves. Let's say that.
What's interesting is that you brought up they didn't free us because they feel like, oh, those people are oppressed. Because really, if you look at what Lincoln said in those first years of the Civil War, if he could save the Union without having to do anything,
he would. Yeah.
Freeing the slaves was a tactic. It was a tactic because if I freed the slaves, now they become soldiers. If you look at the movie Glory, they sent them in to go in. They knew the first round was going to get killed. That's why they put them ahead of the white soldiers. So it's interesting that you brought that up. Something else I wanted to talk about was when you mentioned the Electoral College. So my grandmother's brother was born, I believe it was either 29, right when Herbert Hoover got elected. The popular race, Herbert Hoover was, not Herbert Hoover, Alfred, I can't think his last, it's not Landon, it's another one, but Alfred was winning. So when my great grandmother had my great uncle, she told the doctors, because she had already had a bunch of kids, name them whoever win the presidency. When they left the hospital, Alfred was winning the popular vote. But at the end of it, Hoover ended up winning, right? So they ended up calling my uncle Alfred for all of his life until he got ready to go join the service. And when he went, they kept saying, we don't have an Alfred Barker. So then that's when he finally seen his birth certificate for the first time.
Is it
Herbert Hoover Barker? So affectionately, he was known as Uncle Alfred his whole life. However, legally, he was Herbert Hoover Barker.
Herbert Hoover.
Yeah, it's just interesting how they really believed that Alfred had won, but they didn't want him, right? So they put in.
But he did win. So yeah, the Electoral College said we doing what's best for the United States. What we think is better. So why even vote? Why even vote?
Well, I hear you on that. I think I vote I think I vote because the people that died, the ancestors that died for us to vote, the pictures that we see of the people, and I get it. And I'm saying I don't get all involved, but I try to vote for the lesser of the evils.
Yeah, because that's the and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody that did get murdered. They didn't die; they were murdered for trying to trying to vote. But that's an old tactic, and I think it's a Democratic tactic to say, oh, it's a guilt thing. So my thing is you trying to make me, not you, but people in general is trying to make other people feel bad about somebody else's killing of people. I don't remember anybody dying in the suffragette movement when all of the women was trying to get, they didn't have to die. The white women didn't have to die to get their votes. So that's what I'm saying. They didn't kill them. They may have beat them.
They didn't kill them, but they did beat Susan B. Anthony in the street. They beat her down in the street.
They killed us.
Yeah, they
did. Hung us and terroristly. So that you say, oh, you want to vote, or they'll block it. They'll do. And I know they did. I'm not minimizing Susan B. Anthony or women's right. I'm just saying that white men didn't kill white women when they tried to vote. So why did we get killed? So that it goes back to everything is steeped in racism. And then, and I want to tell you, but because I didn't read it, but I want to tell you that that movement, that suffragette movement, was on the back of Black people. But I can't say that for sure. But the pictures that I've seen and the documentaries that I've seen on even the drive, the not drinking, that whole thing was, it seemed like, yeah, everything on the back.
It's such a game.
It's man. But yeah, people should vote. Yeah.
I think the suffragette came out of abolitionists. So most of them have been working under the abolitionist movement to free the slaves.
Oh, okay.
Right, and you had Elizabeth Cady Stanton, another leader of the suffragette movement, and Lucretia Mott and Susan B. But you remember, I can't think of her name, right? Aren't I a Woman by Sojourner Truth. That was part of leaving abolitionists and thinking about suffragette, right? She was being, aren't I a woman too? And she was like a equivalent of a Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, right? And so when she said that, it was kind of like, they movement didn't include us either. Even the feminist movement. That's why you have a lot of Black authors and, educators who pushed Black feminism, because we aren't included. We there to make the numbers look good, but we not considered for leadership, positions of leadership. And so
that's
I
sad.
definitely feel like most of those movements were fueled because, okay, you got these people who are oppressed. We can get them, to your point. We can play on these things that are happening with them to get them to support what we're doing. But really what we're doing is to really support us, right?
I know this is going to chafe some people, but I think that's what Black Lives Matter is going to end up being. Because I saw Ebony, they put a Black Lives Matter thing, and it was two dudes tongue kissing or kissing in the mouth or something. And I'm not against, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what that got to do with racial systemic oppression, I just didn't understand it. And I think it wasn't Jet. It wasn't Jet. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. Somebody sent it to me and I erased it. I don't want to be walking around angry all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate. But I'm sorry, I did get off the subject, but yeah, those are the strengths that I find is it's one-to-one. These people live in your community. So they're going through kind of like the same things you're going through. And you can voice your opinion. You can go to the council meeting and sit in there and you get a minute and a half or 2 minutes to say, what's on your mind to sway these people. And, it don't work all the time, but maybe it's your right to do that. I don't know about fair. I mean, you probably could do it nationally, but who gonna drive all the way to Washington, D.C. and sit out there and wait, and then they hush you down or they tell you to come back another day or something.
So for just thinking about the people out there that may be listening, how does analyzing like the strengths and weaknesses of local politics determine how they engage? Like, how does that help people determine how they engage?
My whole thing, I used to keep saying, oh, this is simple. Why are y'all trying to think about it? But I'm not going to say that anymore. What I'll say is, if your taxes go up on your house, and that's local, you could have fought that. That was a measure. You could have voted for that. So the reason I weigh them that way is because it's what's happening right now. And if you can fix your circle, that circle can ebb out and fix another circle. So eventually it will be national, because you have these grassroots people, which, it ain't even really grassroots. It's just, it's local government. Mm-hmm. Then you can get the gist of how it is and why people do what they do. Now, the weaknesses is the same. It's the same kind of people usually that want power and get money and get, lobbies and things like that. And they click up. I've heard stories that I can't say right now. It was a girl that worked on some people's, campaign, and as soon as he won, he just turned his back. And it hurts people because you working for somebody you think is going to make a change, and they did. They changed you. They changed that. So that's the bad thing. But the good thing is, you can start your own movement like we are doing, and you can put people on these. You can put people in there. You can tell people. So in 2023, Richmond, I'm talking Richmond, there'll be 3 seats up. If I can do this podcast, touch people, do this, I can find people that can. I don't think I'm gonna do it because I'm more passionate than I am literate, I guess. That sounds bad, but it ain't. It's just
literacy is a lot of. You got to look at literacy broader than what education, the limits education put on
Yeah,
you.
yeah. See, but I guess that's what I'm saying, because I can read the Game of Thrones books. I can read the Black Panther book or whatever, all of this stuff, but I ain't finna read on the thesis about how black people and white people need to join hands and scream free. I don't read that kind of. I don't read. I tell you, I tried to read the Souls of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois, and it took me a long time. It was so essay. It was essay. It was like a case study. I couldn't get through it. And not saying that I need stories. It was dry.
But
I know I needed to write.
Academia. WB was straight up academia. You know what I mean? Elevating. And in academia, though, it's all these. It's like following white Western civilization, right? And all of their stuff. Whereas I feel like creating new spaces to make critical sense, to table build and build movements and help people start to understand who they are, where they come from. I think that's where we need to be headed to and moving. People
So is that what the Booker T was doing? Was he just doing the trade school stuff? He was just
the trade school stuff and teach,
but not purposes.
I think he was getting you to try to see what your strengths and your skills were.
Yeah.
To use, and it's more to it. I don't want to. That's a whole conversation we can have. Booker.
Yeah, I read that book. I read that book twice. I read it and I listened to it because I felt like he was right in a way, but I also felt like he was misguided. But any attention, any positivity in the black direction, I'm gonna learn now not to tear it down, because that's my first inclination, is to tear it down because it ain't this or it ain't that. It's like, let's appreciate it for what it is and then move on. Like even Black Lives Matter, it's people, it's a rally cry for some people. Even though they don't know exactly what it entails, they think it means this. So in that, I'm gonna go with y'all on that. But yeah, I like the idea, like you said, of finding your purpose and then joining that, not just joining a society that's against you. You never can win. Who would join the bullies team? I just don't.
Studying who created it, why, what new iterations are out or whatever. You got to study the history of stuff too, because a lot of times things get lost and you'll think one thing that you're following and it'll mean something totally different.
And it does. Yes. That's a lot of stuff, though. That's a lot of stuff in America. Like I'm starting to read on the history of words, because I don't like you. Like, oh yeah, what's the T? And I'm like, hold on, what did this come? Why would you spell T? So I need to know the origin of these words. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff that's based on slave colloquialism. It's not. Man, don't look a horse. Gift horse in the mouth and stuff like that. It's like, you better learn where these things came from. I know what we use it for now, but
I got an OG homie. He say the T, he don't like that. Give me the T. He said that's snitching, right? And he was like, why they always snitching, telling everybody else business? Tell your stuff. Quit trying to get it on somebody else. So when I heard that, I stopped using. I ain't gonna say I was using the phrase a lot, but I used it until he said that and pulled my coattails, and I was like, okay. And delighting in other people's pain. That's the other thing about it.
Yeah, and when they say it, it's like you gonna feel it. It's like they're excited to hear about other people's downfall, and that's why I said I wanted to know the word. I just wanted to know the meaning of it, and I never did find it. I thought it was something in drag culture or something, because that's the only people I really heard use it. Then I heard celebrities use it, because even it's crazy.
But that's
black drag dudes.
To me, that's trauma though. To focus on it, like instead of focusing on what I need to fix in myself, I'm too busy trying to get the T so I can share the T when I really should be working on my own T to perfect that, right? And it's a trip how we like these trends start, pop culture start, and they just easily, because you bombarded on the TVs and everywhere else, right? I think me and you talked about this before. Your diet is more than just what you eat. It's what you listen to, what you watch, who you hang around.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, even if you ain't watching the TV and it's on, it's conditioning you. And so then you
I
start
think
using
so.
these phrases and sayings and not even really knowing, like you said, where they come from, who
Where
came
they
up
come
with
from
the
and
original.
what they mean. It might, and that's the other thing. It might be evil. You might be pulling something from an evil something that somebody else liked, and then you really find out that that this is a bad thing to
Right.
T. I just didn't understand it, but yeah, it's a crazy. It's just everything goes back to racism to me. It's like everything that I find out it really has something to do with racism. And I know that sounds like a conspiracy, but it's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy when it's the history, when
Yeah,
it's the U.S. history. So,
absolutely. And so with that in mind, if you could rate the current presidency on a scale of 1 through 10, what would you rate it and why?
well, I would rate him. It's no president I would rate higher than a 4, regardless. I don't think anybody did anything. Well, we talking about action and not feelings.
Action.
So yeah, we talking about action. So yeah, with actions, none of that stuff really helped me. And truth be told, Republican uh, ways of thinking is money, money, money. So my house value go up and my stocks go up. But but that's money. Money is fleeting. Money, one day this paper money will not be alive. So yeah, so I would rate it as a 4, but nobody's ever done anything that I've seen that I would rate it a 10. And now the feeling that they gave Obama, maybe Clinton, even Reagan to the other side, them were the glory years. When they say "Let's make America great again," that's the same phrase Reagan used. But I think that's the same phrase. Not Washington. It's an old phrase. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say it was Andrew. I think Andrew. Somebody. Anyway, it don't matter. It's But nah, I don't rate them. I don't rate them that high at all because it's so much bureaucracy. It's so many lobbyists. They don't care about. If they cared about American people, they wouldn't be sanctioning these drugs. All these drug companies that's now going bankrupt just to start another a company that does the same thing. Is a lot of loopholes. So no, I don't feel it. I don't feel it at all.
Supports the whiteness as property, meaning money, business, neoliberalist policies, and all of that. But then also to what's the word I want to use? Also to protect Republican motherhood. So I saw an article this week about Trump did something with the Fair Act housing, and you know
Oh,
having people move into the suburbs. We're going to protect our suburb. Basically, you protecting the Republican motherhood, right? He telling everybody to get their arms, and you're looking at what's going on in Kenosha and all these other places, and it's like, dude, if anybody don't think that this country is built on racism with the cover that they didn't unveiled in this presidency, they got to be they missing it. They
they
missing it. I don't want to call them nothing, but they missing it because it is so prevalent. It's like I'm not shocked in the morning when I wake up and something comes on there anymore. I don't
nope.
care what it is. I'm not shocked anymore. It's like you numb to it. And so, like, how do you keep going? How do you keep pushing and trying to encourage people who aren't as equipped or educated as you are on politics and not voting in national elections?
Yeah, I can't say that. I don't know how because I can handle. I tell you what, I could leave right now with what the assets that I have. I could leave and go to Africa and probably be well off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really what. I'm not African. I'm American, so I would like it to work here, but I don't know. I just don't see a way. I just don't see a way because only locally. It's like if you can build your own utopia, it's still that place up north trying to be the state of Jefferson, like all the way from Butte all the way up there. So I understand that but that was when Obama. I don't know if they're still pushing for it now because when I rode up there, I see a bunch of Trump signs. But when I don't know because without getting too into something else, is like you said, you have a diet. And if your diet is telling you complacency, 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 nope, you're not going to fight. until something happens to you directly. And none of my family was ever killed by a cop. I mean, we got dope put on us. We got different things we never been killed. So I probably will never, well, hopefully, well, I can't say that. It might happen because I'm armed. And my people I know is armed. We're going to do the militia. It's going to be a Richmond militia. And I already know it is. And that's the other thing I was thinking, because I'm sorry, this don't have nothing to do with the question, but it's corporations that have police. So I was like, well, why couldn't Richmond have their own police? BNSF has a police, the railroad people. BART has a police. They're not a federal, you know what I'm saying? But they have a chapter of police. There's other people that has police. So if I was on the council and I said, well, we don't want to do with this Richmond police anymore. We want to do a private security. You should be able to do that. And I know you can, because that's how the Trayvon got killed. Because George Zimmerman was a private security that carried a gun. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know how. But what I am doing is like I said, I'm doing that podcast. How do you view you? I'm talking to people. I'm doing things like with you and other people so that I can get a real feeling of, you know, what can work and what should be working. And what's the best thing to do because we behind enemy lines. We POWs. I mean, anybody can say anything they want to say. You can go to work and go to jail, but it's just the bars just can't be seen as well. And as soon as you see them, then that's all you see. That's all you're gonna see. So one day I'm going to start reading and being a more it's going to be a bad thing for a lot of people, because once I know the law, it's going to be a bad time for some people, but good time for us. At least somebody will know.
So I'm curious. I know you talked about being armed, and I also saw something the other day. This guy, he was a teacher. It might have been Mount Diablo. I can't remember, but it's somewhere in the Bay Area, and
wow,
he found 131 guns in his house. So he had an armory. And I'm like, well, dang, if he got 131 and he only one person, what should we be doing as Black people to get prepared? Because I've been saying, you know, November 4th is going to be a telling day. Whoever wins, the other side is going to be
heated hot. Yeah.
Like in the boiling flames of fire hot, right?
Yeah.
How do we encourage our own people to prepare for that, or even educate and equip them to prepare for that?
Shit. All you can do is talk. You can put it out there, and then you can have people share it. Like you said, we are building a network. Mm-hmm. I know we're late because we should have been doing this in the 40s, but I know we're late. So I think that the only way is each one teach one. Now, if I was a different person, which I will be, I would say the church. I would say everybody, but now they got you where you can't go to church. So
that's strategy too. That is strategy.
Yeah, I think it is.
Nail shops can open and the church can't.
Starbucks can open, but the church can't. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I would say you got to go places where the people are, and a lot of people don't want to hear it because they feel helpless. So before I could even talk to people, I would have to come up with a solution that's doable. At least the first step, at least the first couple of steps, and outline it so that people aren't dumb. People are ignorant, but that doesn't equal dumb. So, and some people choose ignorance. I choose ignorance sometimes because I don't want to know. This sounds radical, but it's no way that any of these cops that killed people should still be either on the street or alive. It's just, if everybody about it, then let's be about it. But if they not, then we not about it. We don't want to kill nobody, but we don't want to kill nobody. Let's find another way. Some people, even in the streets, I learned this in Richmond, sometimes you just got to get sick like other people get sick. If you don't, and it's not fighting fire with fire, it's fighting fire with water. You got to put them out. You cannot, you just got to protect him. I'm not finna sit here and hold my brother because this dude killed him just because he wearing a badge. Now, I don't know.
You said that you got to put him out because after World War I, Germany should have got. And not to talk about it now, but I'm saying back after World War I, the United States they didn't have no consequences after World War I.
No.
20 years later, here come World War II. Why? Because they never put that. They never
put the
plane.
Oh.
I hear you on that. That was a
yeah.
Absolutely.
But I don't. So I tell you what I'm doing. What I'm doing is stuff like this. Anytime I see an opportunity to talk, and I know I'm not a learned man. I mean, I went to college, and I got the President's Scholar. I mean, I got a 3.9, but it don't matter. That's what I'm doing now. I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing everything that I can do to put the word out there. In my opinion, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. We can build from that.
Yes.
If I'm not doing something correctly, or if it's a better way to do something, let me know. I'm not sensitive, but I think it's a sleeping giant out there, and I think it's these dudes that just stand on the fence, and these women that stand on the fence, and I'm not, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I hope I'm alive to see it, or I hope my death bring it about. That's what I say.
That's powerful. I'm gonna push back on you. You said you wasn't learning, but you got so much wisdom. So, as you look at the meritocracy, I mean, okay, you're getting some education. I think my grandmother used to say, education sometimes can make you an educated fool if you don't have no wisdom and no common sense, right?
Yeah.
So I think those skills, we Black people have had to rely on those skills more than a formal education because we've been locked out. We've had to create our own literary societies. We've been doing that since the 1800s, which was way more powerful than what was going on in the schools at that time after Thomas Jefferson. And if you do the study, I think it's, is it Goldie Muhammad? Goldie Muhammad got a book, Cultivating Genius. And it's more around literacy with kids of color, but he talks about the literary circles that existed prior to even while slavery was going on for some of those free folks, and how the folks that weren't free were able to sneak away and find spaces and create experiences for them to learn, right?
Yeah.
So I have to tell. I need you to stop talking down on yourself and saying you're not.
I appreciate it. It's just that when and it's crazy because I'm kind of talking in code, because when I say learn it, I'm talking. I'm talking like the Indians that was snatched away from their people and then taught to walk and talk and smell like a white man. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking, when I say learn it, that's their word. So I'm not what people would see me. I say this. People would see me and cross the street because I look like I'm something that they're scared of. When in reality, you better hug me, you mom. you better get close to me. So that's what when I say I need to, but I like saying it that way because then it makes people think like, what? How does he not think he's learned it when he can talk with sense? But we all talk with sense. You just don't know what some of these people are talking about. If a drunk tell you don't drink, you're like, man, you drunk. How you gonna tell me not to drink? Nigga, because I'm a drunk. That's why. I know or if a drunk tell you not to smoke coke, you gotta listen to the message and not the messenger. And it's harder that way. It is harder.
It's funny, when I was like in my early 20s hanging, you growing up, going through your little stuff. My uncle and I was always a basketball player, and my uncle used to say, Chambers, get in the game, right? When we was And at first I used to be like, why are you always telling me to get in the game? But as I've gotten older and understood, that wasn't my path. And so he knew I wasn't even supposed to be kicking it and like I was, right?
Yeah.
But you gotta go through your stuff. Being a young person, you trust in the boundaries. And so him saying get in the game was him trying to get me back on my purpose trail, right? And not in these activities that I'm wasting, just wasting time sometimes.
Yeah, I feel that because like I actually saw your post on your birthday when you said, and I said something almost exactly the same. I can't remember Anyway, I said 2020 was my birth year. And you said like
rebirth.
Oh yeah, rebirth. You said rebirth. It's because now I'm thinking, and I just did Dude Contact. He's doing positive music. He's doing children's books, and I did a verse for him. It's supposed to be on BET, and I wrote it. It's crazy because we playing chess with checker pieces. We moving when you see this red or black, when you see this black checker piece move up and over like a knight, like what are they playing? We got to remember, we got to go in code. So then when the time comes, it's gonna be ready and everybody can. Now, how do you get that message to everybody in a code that everybody can understand?
So we need somebody to build a table around chess to teach these young people how to play so they can work on them skills. I hear you on that.
Yeah, because if you can remember that, and if you remember these old movies, I don't even talk about movies. I'm talking about old dudes. They used to remember numbers from 100 people. They playing numbers like, no, Miss Harris had 1, 2, 3. Mr. That is a phenomenal memory. And if people, a human computer. And I can't say he wasted his life. What else could he have done at that time in the 60s and 70s? What else could he have done? And
so many opportunities, and you got to create opportunity out of nothing. So the number systems, right? It makes sense, and that's numbers, that's math sense. But when you get it in them classrooms and the way they present it, and the way that there's a culture of hostility in schools toward not just black and brown, but really toward black boys.
Yeah.
They are targets to be pushed into the pipeline. Black girls are adultification is done to them, where they look older than what they are not treated as kids, but because they may have blossomed early, now you're expecting them to have the consequences of an adult.
Yeah, to think that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Yeah. It's a game. It's a game. It's all a game.
It is. So you got to learn how to play it. But then you get to the point, and that's why I call this my rebirth year, where I ain't playing that game no more. I'm not playing the game of life. I'm not playing the American dream. It's a joke. You never win. And I don't know if you've seen that image where it's a game board and there's a white person here and a black person here. And the white person's game board is just squares, kind of like Chutes and Ladders, but it's just free. But the black person's path has all these obstacles in the way. And they got a chain on their leg. So we starting from at a disadvantage. And then along the way, all these other things get thrown at us on top of trauma that's trapped in our body. Me and you had that conversation about trauma. Yeah. And until you can deal with your trauma, you can't think critically because you're in survival mode. And so certain things, even when it piques your interest, you get fearful because I ain't really worked on my trauma. And so I'm afraid of what's going to happen or what's going to do. I'm at a space now where I don't fear nothing but God. That's all I fear. Because if I chose to fear anything else, then I would be stagnant and I wouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's what I just told somebody the other day, I'm getting tired of, just doing all this stuff that I'm doing because there's so much that needs to be done. And I said, if I sit down, it might be another 20 years before I get up, if I'm alive. Because it's like, it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot out of you. But
that's why we got to build the tables, because we can't do it all. But if we build the tables, we can educate and help people. We can help educate and equip people to actually start doing all the things that need to get done. Because I think I shared this with you before, my favorite quote, Benjamin E. Mays, everybody different. If they don't do it, it don't get done. So even though we know it's all that stuff, we can't do all that stuff because that ain't our purpose. We got to do our purpose. And so, but it's up to us too to empower the other people so that they live and walk in theirs too. Then we'll start to see some change. But people are afraid to let go of their creature comforts. That's what it's about. They following because this white gaze and creature comforts. Like you got to be willing to say, I'm gonna live off less. I'm gonna stop spending on all this frivolous stuff.
Yep.
And actually start being more strategic and intentional with the way I spend my money and with what I buy.
Because that's the way. I mean, even if we just did like I said, a Richmond militia or a Richmond coalition or something like that. Let's say that everybody that spent money on Nikes didn't spend, and we bought, that land around Chevron. Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's something that you have. Now you got a place that you can always stay. I mean, they'll find a way to take it from you, but you bought it. That's all I'm saying. If you claiming turf that ain't really yours, and you put it in your mind that it is, I know it ain't. You know it ain't. But it's the lies we tell ourselves. But I'm working, and I'm not gonna stop. You know, I just don't want. My thing is, I just don't want to let people down. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to let people down, and you know, that's my fear. But
well, I think you're doing an amazing job with the work that you're doing, all the projects that you're working on, and the way that you're getting voice, having people on your show to help them share their story and what their expertise. I think that is powerful right there. We got to do more of that. Absolutely.
yeah,
What I heard from you today is really, one, getting involved in local politics, one, attending council meetings, sharing your voice during that 2-minute share out, meeting with those who are running for local positions and talking with them one-on-one. I heard that. And then also the economic piece I hear from you is important about, one, strategizing on, one, around what can we do and what do we have, like looking at our ass, what do we have and what can we do with what we have, and encouraging and empowering other people to share out, you know, share stories, and read if you can. If it's too dense, put it down, get something else. But it's so much literature out there from Black
and and this is another. I'm gonna tell you because I'm using it. There's a app called Libby. It's in San Pablo. Richmond Public doesn't have it, but San Pablo, I think it's a Contra Costa library. If you sign up and get a card there, you can get this app called Libby. They have everything on audiobook. That's how I got The Color of Law, and it's free. You wait on the list and you get it. I was at work or I sit at home and I listen to books. So some books I listen to and I say, oh, I'm gonna have to read that because I have to see it so I remember it, and because I admire the way you can quote stuff. It's not that I can't, but I quote things that people don't. I quote Scarface. I quote movies. I can quote stuff like that because it resonates with me. But book quotes, I remember. I say, oh, I'm gonna remember that, but I never really do. But yeah, that's true what you said. And the trauma.
I was gonna say, I think the movie quotes are relevant too.
They are, but it's usually these movies are written by people that, yeah. So I like books that's truer to the core, and then I'm gonna start quoting myself. I mean, I got the album coming out in Halloween. I got the How Do You View You podcast on the Dark Network on YouTube. You were a guest. You was a guest on there. I guess I'm gonna get Lavette if she's gonna start her trauma podcast.
Yes.
I actually think that trauma thing is. I want to help her if I can with that, because, like you said, how you gonna focus on, the next step when you worried about if you're gonna get kicked out your house or not, or if your actions then led to your daughter leaving or something. You got to fix your trauma first before you can help any other people. So I like that. I'm going to.
And fixing the trauma helps you when you get into the weeds of things as you building your movement and stuff come at you. You won't be triggered if you've had a chance to manage and heal from it. And even if you're still healing from it. But if you haven't, you're going to get triggered and then went off on something, and then all your efforts may be in vain because they snap because you right? Absolutely.
Or you might have touched somebody, or you might have called the wrong person a name when they really didn't mean what you thought they meant. You just snapped at that minute. So yeah, I don't know what that would look like, but I do want to focus on, because a lot of people have trauma that they don't think they have. Like, well, I don't have trauma. I just hate my daddy. I'm like, well, what you mean? What did he do? Shit. So yeah.
I got into it with a guy. We were having a debate on Instagram. Somebody I went to grew up with, like in high school, and he was saying that the post-traumatic trauma. Slave syndrome, that's a theory. I said, it may be a theory because it is in the book, but I've seen it. I see it in Black lives.
It's real. Oh, so it's real.
You can call it a theory, and he was trying to push back. And I'm like, I get what you're saying, and and believe me, I'm very spiritual, so I do lean on my spirituality a lot to see me through everything. That's what directs my life. But I also know that this stuff exists. That's why every day I had to, like I told you before, stop working because it had just got to the point where I had to deal with my own inner self. And if you deal with that inner man and really deal with him and work through stuff from childhood that has been buried for decades, to me, I just didn't feel like I was effective enough. Whereas now I feel like I'm starting to see things more clearly. I'm starting to respond and not react to situations. You don't necessarily need to, as soon as somebody asks a question, feel like you have to respond immediately. Give me a minute, let me think on that. Because I want my response to be meaningful, intentional, and powerful, and to change the situation, not to add, and now me and you don't like each other, we done fell out.
Yeah, now we funking, yeah.
Exactly. And we can agree to disagree because we all come from different experiences. So
what is that called? So if trauma is this end of the spectrum, what is that other side? Because you know, the one dude said something that was kind of poignant to me, and he was like, and I know it's a meme that be going around. He said that America is so racist that when you try to fight it, you're un-American. So it's a set of people that are so used to being entitled or being the top people that me saying that I want to just be a human hurts everything that they feel is them. Is that trauma also? What is that called? What is that healing for them? What is that?
That's, I mean, I have to think on that, but I think that's privilege, power, and oppression saying, no, you're not going to get any of these. You don't get any seat at the table. This is our table. You get the crumbs from the table. And I don't see them. I see people. I see certain groups of people saying they're ready to change. But until they change their hearts, when your heart is black, how can you show any actions of love?
No.
It's no love in that. It's all business. This is all about capitalism, neoliberalism, money.
I believe it.
And so I think there are some people that still, that's why I try to drop pearls on people, even the ones that be being rude. I still say something kind to them because I'm just trying to get you to get back to humanity. They are so far from humanity that they don't see it. I don't think they see it in themselves in a way.
That's the problem. But you know what irritates me? They recognize it in other people. I'm like, cuz you the same way. Why you don't? And so and that's what I say, I'm a reflector. If you being funny style to me, and I'm doing this, I'm talking about the exact same thing to you, you're like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like, cuz that's what you did to me. That's what you did. I'm reflecting. So that's why some of my things is if somebody say Don name or Alan Griffin, Griffinstein Jr., whatever you call me, you say, oh yeah, that nigga asshole. Please believe that dude is an asshole. If somebody say, oh, this dude is a wonderful person, trust that person is a wonderful person because I only reflect what I'm given. So that's how I try to live it. But I don't know. I was just curious to know if, entitlement is a trauma because it's a negative thing. So
I guess it would be. We got to get somebody on here that got trauma.
That knows that, yeah.
That could tell us.
That's Levette.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be. I ain't never had no entitlement and privilege, so I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I don't even know what it feels like. I've never been entitled. That's crazy. I've never been entitled. We try to reach for it, VIPs and foreign cars and red bottom shoes. We try to get that VIP status, but it's dust. This is just wind. It's not nothing. Anyway, yeah.
Well, I just say thank you for coming on and trying to make critical sense of life with me and seeing, just sharing out the different ways that, people can share their voice and be heard, especially in local politics.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think you shared earlier too about your taxes went up, but you didn't vote. And so you could have changed that had you went out and voted and educate yourself on what you're voting for. Sometimes it take a little time, it take up some of your time, but it's worth it because when those taxes come, you can't go back. You got to pay them. Right?
No.
So definitely
it's also, I know you're trying to wind up, but the thing is sometimes these people, you think it's local, you think it's no denomination. It's like it's no, these aren't Republicans or Democrats, but lately, within the last 5 or 10 years, you will see somebody put their name up and then put Obama in there. They'll make it where it seems this is where my loyalties lie, and I don't think that's a good thing either in local politics. But you know, that's how we go. But yeah, I'm trying to do it, and I appreciate what you're doing, and anything you need from me, even if I'm nervous or even if I'm gonna do my best, and my best is usually top tier. It's in the A/B category. So we trying to change.
Likewise for you too. Likewise, anything you want me to come in with. And so final thoughts or a tip that you might want to share with the viewers, and the last voice they hear will be yours.
Oh, okay. Take your time and just do it right, basically. If it's something you want to change, read about it, talk about it, be about it. Because unfortunately, we are put in a position now where I think the black people are going to split, because it's these people that say no, King was right, with other people in their ear, and then there's other people that's going to be like, but none of this is right. So like I say, all I live by is I treat people how I want them to treat my mother. And but if you act disrespectful, I'm gonna treat you like you acted. And I always wanted to say I love everybody, but I don't. I mean, I don't have enough energy to love everybody. I don't mean anybody any ill will though. I'm not a bully. But I am to bullies. I'm mixed up. But I'm working on it.
You all works in progress.
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with you and anybody that you think I need to work with. And yeah, my final thought is, if you want to, go get it, because nobody's going to give it to you.
Thank you.